Good evening and welcome to the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great day and you are ready to slide into the weekend. This weekend happens to be a Christmas weekend, and yeah, we had a few technical delays, which was one of the reason, I should say technical difficulties, which caused a little bit of a delay going live at the top of the hour, but we think we figured it out. So glad to be here on tonight. For everyone who will be joining the broadcast on the replay, you know what to do. Just make sure when you slide in those comments, put hashtag replay. Love to show all of our replay viewers lots of love. For those of you who will be joining us live, I would love to know, what is your favorite Christmas memory? What is your favorite Christmas memory or holiday memory? If you have one of those favorite memories, would love to hear from you. Make sure you slide into the comments and let us know tonight. What is your favorite Christmas memory? Well, you know how we get started every week here at the Angela Ray Show. We start off with the Ray of Motivation moment. And for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to remind you to think about what you allow yourself to think about. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Think about what you allow yourself to think about. That is not double speak. So often thoughts just come and go in our minds. There are so many thoughts that you have throughout a minute, throughout an hour, throughout a day. And if you allow your thoughts, particularly those thoughts that may be somewhat negative, that may have you in fear, if you allow those thoughts to go unchecked, you may find yourself going down an emotional roller coaster that you really don't need to go down if you would just think about what you are allowing yourself to think about. I can't tell you for myself personally how many times I have gone from A to Z without checking my thoughts. And by the time I get to Z, I'm feeling some kind of way when all I had to do was stop, press the pause, and really justify and vet that thought. Is this really true? Do I need to be thinking about this? Why am I thinking about this? And is there another way to think about what's on my mind right now? So, again, tonight's Ray of Motivation moment. Think about what you allow yourself to think about. Again, for those of you who are joining live, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is your favorite holiday memory? What is your favorite holiday memory? Well, I'm very excited this evening to have a very special guest. She is the founder, co-founder, and executive director of the Stewart Foundation, a youth leadership and development program targeting students between the ages of 8 and 18. She is a member of the best sorority in the world, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She is a native of Atlanta and has obtained proclamations from the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman John Lewis and Hank Johnson. And I am so delighted to have her here on this evening to talk to us a little bit and share from her new book, Courage to Transform. So please help me welcome Gwendolyn Mason. Gwendolyn, they said, and coming to America, I'm gonna call you Gwen if that's okay.
Please, please. Hello, Angela. It's so grand to be on your show, my love. You are doing some big, big, powerful things, and I am so honored to be here with you this evening. Thank you for allowing me to grace your virtual stage.
Well, thank you for saying yes. I definitely appreciate it. You are so accomplished and yet so very humble. We haven't even had a chance to talk about one of your latest accomplishments. When I saw you last month, we talked about it a little bit in person. We haven't, and I won't even bring that up. We'll talk about that one offline. But talk a little bit about this journey to get where you are in terms of becoming a published author, because I know that indeed that was a journey as well.
Angela, I have to say, I can't even take any of the credit because when God puts it in your heart to do something, one of the things that I have learned is to be obedient to Him. God spoke to me and He said, if you write it, I'll bless it. And you never ever pass up an opportunity to do that which God has called you to do, because you certainly don't want, I call him, my term of endearment for him is my master orchestrator. And my master orchestrator moved me throughout this incredible journey of life to be able to put these words on paper in hopes that it will elevate another individual to have the courage to go out, make the necessary changes to be the best possible them that they can be. So I'm really excited about the journey that God has given me.
Now, when I was introducing you, I talked about your work as the co-founder and executive director of the Stewart Foundation. You are empowering young people, which is a
Yeah, we are.
tremendous mission.
Mhm.
And you have so many of your annual fundraisers throughout the year. But
Yeah.
talk about, I'd be curious to know, what have been the challenges of keeping these youth empowered during a pandemic?
You know what? That is just so absolute. That's a great question, because our babies have been through a whirlwind, literally. Can you imagine the social skills that they've lost, the education that's so absolutely imperative? We've had some of our students to actually thrive during the pandemic, which is very, very interesting. And we had some of our students that were really, really thriving was a huge slump during the pandemic. And I think the key is we've got to have to ensure that we're communicating with them all. We stay really, really close to the parents, because we want to make sure what's happening at home, what temperament it is. We've prided ourselves because we are a village. We operate under the village format. Most of our children, they do have great parents, a lot from single family homes, but they've got, mothers that are there, or fathers that are there, that are really trying to lift them up, and we come alongside them. We stand in the gap with them. We intercede with them in hopes to give our youth the absolute best that they can do. One of the things that we were able to do during the pandemic is we have a family that was a family of about 12. And with those 12, we were able to set up a virtual learning in the back of their home. So we supplied tables, chairs, printers. We set up a library, boards. We did monitors so that we can have simultaneous learning. We went in because the big deal, a lot people think children are really, really technically savvy, but that's not necessarily the case. They can get on devices and do something, but to be able to go through that virtual learning with their teachers, receive instruction in a way that they've never received instruction before. And when you've got a family of that many, 12 in the same room, there was equipment that needed, headphones, right? They needed to be done. We needed to get boards so that teachers could actually see what the youth were actually doing physically. All of these various different tools. So we went in and we were tech support. We were principals. We were assistants to the teachers. We were the cafeteria lady, the cleanup lady, uh, the bus. We were everything, because went in and just had to step in, because imagine the magnitude of families that are out there that have those many children. Most of the time, the parents are frontline workers. And guess what? In order for them to eat and have a place to live, the parents have to go to work. So then who's standing in the gap to do this? So we actually, with this particular family, we named them, it's the cutest thing, I think, Bright Young Minds. And I would love for Bright Young Minds to be a part of your program one day, because they would so totally impress you. So that's what we did. We went out during the pandemic every day and stood in the gap to help to ensure that a whole body, an entire family did not get left behind. And of course, continued with the work that we do with all of our other children. We just converted. The good thing was, when the pandemic took place, we were already savvy, because we had the technology. We were running our meetings we had the Zoom platform, but we also had the GoToMeeting platform that we had established anyway. So when this happened, we were ready to go. So we didn't stop. We escalated. We actually implemented more programs during the pandemic. It was amazing.
That sounds amazing. Like, and to already be prepared. Hey,
Yeah.
Janice, thank you for being on tonight. So you already were prepared. You did this amazing thing with this family, providing pretty much a school within their home.
Yeah, we did.
What are some of the other challenges? I mean, that was as if that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And I know that you all were also able this year to have your fundraiser virtually. So
Hmm.
did that help you, I guess, gain a bigger impact? Because now people who could not get on site where you would normally have a fundraiser in person, it
Yeah.
there was no limit because anyone could join from anywhere in the world. Did you all find that that made a difference?
Well, you know what? I have to say, when things came together, it was a couple of things. The first year of the pandemic was when everything happened with the racial unrest that took place in our country. What happened with George Floyd, and what took place immediately after that, because our event was the end of July, and there were so many people that wanted to stand. There were so many people that wanted to help. They wanted to know about organizations that were making a difference. And that year actually was very good for the foundation because we were able to actually gain a lot of individuals who want to give their individual talents and resources to our organization to help our communities, which was great. I think George made a huge, huge difference, although, with losing him was so unfortunate, but he was able to, through that battle, through that fight, through that loss of him, so many other organizations were able to go and reach out into communities and make a difference. The second year, uh, uh, unfortunately, um, people started to, they went on a decline. So the height of what took place with George, the second year, although it was still the pandemic, wasn't as fluent as it was the first year. So we didn't get as many resources and et cetera as we did that very first year, which is quite interesting. And another thing that I've noticed that is a really, really big deal with our children is the mental health of our children during the pandemic. We had several children that struggled, that really, really struggled with being in the home all day long, not having those social engagements, not being able to do all of the things that they were accustomed to doing, and just being held inside. That was a lot for our children. It really was. So we began to look for ways to help. So we brought in a lot of our therapists. We had frequent forums with them. We created forums for families to come together, how to make it through the pandemic, relationships, because you're missing a lot of those relationships because it really is just you and your immediate family. There was a lot of mental health things that we really had to deal with during the pandemic, and we're still actually working through and dealing with and trying to keep our ears and our minds and our hearts open to hear from every child in every situation that they are encountering so that we can ultimately help them get through this, right? It was quite unfortunate. There was few stories that just really grabbed hold of my heart, and I knew that we had to do something. So there was a great deal of work. The work didn't stop, and the work has not stopped.
Sounds like you all have been very busy, and it
We
it
have.
seems, at least I've heard other people talk about this, there has been a very short-term memory where it comes to the racial unrest that we had last
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
Just this year, it's almost like that was 20 years ago in
Yep.
terms of the memory and people who committed either time, resources, or
Mhm.
talent
Yep.
to helping. It's just been unfortunately, it's been a short-term memory.
It is sad because so many reached out and said, "What can I do?" Our brothers and sisters, of other nationalities and races, what can we do? There was a lot of those questions, and of course we provided. Hey, here's what we need for you to do. One for our Caucasian brothers and sisters is, please, for those that are in your form, and that their mindset is not good towards our people. Stand up when you hear something. Say we need to do that because in many cases we're not in those forums to stand up for ourselves. We need for you to stand up and say something. If you say, "What can I do?" You're in those forums often when you're with your family during the holidays. Say something. Stand up for others. Just because the color of your skin is different doesn't mean that we're not human beings because we're Black. So we really need for all to stand up and say something and begin to help reshape those mentalities, those ugly mentalities that some have regarding our people. That's a big deal. But then that stated, heard it a lot after George Floyd's situation took place, but not a whole lot thereafter.
Well, Gwen, we have a question from one of our very loyal viewers here. Edwin wants to know, as a leader and person in authority, how do you keep your courage during the pandemic?
Oh my goodness. You know what? It has to be, I mean, really, it is about my relationship with God because God is the relational God. God is God, the Father, God, the Son, God, the Holy Spirit. He made himself relational. So being able to reach out, talk, chat, being on great shows like Angela's show, hearing from you, right? It reminds me because there's no greater commodity to us as a people than the people. You know, some may think gold, silver, or gas, those are the most precious commodities. No, it is our people, right? And so we get to reach out to each other in so many various different ways. We may be closed behind doors, right? And separated from each other physically, but truly spiritually, mentally, we can actually come together. You know, the whole essence of social distance is not social distance, it's physical distance, right? It's not social distance because we get to socialize right now, right here. So that's a great question, Edmund. It really is my faith in God, and then being able to be and serve on platforms like Angela's platform. So Angela, thank you so much for creating this so that we all can stay in touch with one another and we can do those temperature checks.
That is actually why when I started last year, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I miss my people. That's everything that I was doing pre-pandemic was around people, whether it was a speaking engagement or if I'm on set for a film or television show, or if I was emceeing an event. And I was like, I really have to reconnect with people. And it gave me the opportunity to do that. So definitely glad to be here getting ready to
You
go
know,
into 2022.
I know it's amazing, isn't it? You know, Angela, I love George Washington Carver because he said once, how far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in life you will have been all of these. So
Mm.
able to go and serve the young, right? And care for the age and those that are striving and being patient with them, right? All of that is the essence of who we are in totality. And you can imagine the journey, right? The journey that you've taken and the places that you've been and the people that have come along your way and those that utilize their tongue to lift you up and not tear you down. That is power. That is power. That's how we all begin to thrive as we go through difficult circumstances and situations and, not dwelling in your own, but figuring out how can I go serve somebody else as I go through this. And you've been able to take this television broadcast and this show and just really be able to help so many people. So thank you so much again for doing this. This is huge.
Well, let's get back to you though and this book, Courage to Transform.
Yes,
You released it this year.
I did.
What
I
has
did.
been the biggest either surprise or blessing for you as you have seen people either read and react and share with you once they've gotten the book?
Well, you know what? It was so amazing because a couple of my best fellows actually read my book cover to cover. One being my dad. I believe my father is my number one fan. And he read the book cover to cover. And then he wanted to sit down with me and he wanted to talk about the characters that were in the book. And he wanted to share with me what his favorite pieces were, right? And then he wanted to dig a little bit deeper in another character. And another was John Futch. And John Futch and our children went to school together. So John was a good friend. He is an excellent writer. So John has just done some magical things. And John actually reached out and shared with me that he had read it cover to cover. And he was so proud of the work. And he absolutely loved it. So very pleased with those two gentlemen that have reached out to me and read the book cover to cover. I'm really interested in hearing from my readers because my plans are to take the character that is most popular and do a spinoff. So you can help me
Mm.
get there. Yeah.
So definitely people have to kind of give you that feedback. Has there been anything that has been surprising with this journey now that you are on the other, you know, it's one thing to write and to plan and you work with a graphic designer, you take pictures, there's all of that. But
Yeah.
now that it's out there in the world, what has been your biggest surprise?
Oh my goodness. Just how well the feedback has been, just how well the sales are going. I don't know why, I'm surprised by that because God said, if you write it, I'll bless it. So wherever I've gone, I've seen the favor of God. I've seen people asking for it without me even promoting it. And for that, I'm so pleased. And I certainly hope that it does what God planned for it to do. And it's designed so that an individual step outside of themselves, take a good, strong look, right? Do a full assessment of themselves because it's so easy, Angela, to point your finger at another, right? But see, change begins with you. Change is between you and God. The hardest thing is for to make changes to you of something that you've been your entire life, right? But being able to be honest, be true, do that assessment and jump back in and make those necessary changes so that you can be the most remarkable you. That is difficult. So I am walking you through how to have that courage to make those necessary changes.
Now, we talked about the book, we've talked about your work with youth, but you and I both also have another passion, and
Yeah.
that is the arts. Talk a
Oh, we
little bit
love
about your
it.
love and passion of the arts.
I'm going to have to steal a phrase that from my incredible co-chair, Dr. Janetta B. Cole. And Dr. Cole said once, I love the arts the way the devil loves sin. And I
Oh,
concur with her. Give me one moment. I got to plug in my 1 second.
all right. So, for those of you who just joined us, if you're on live at the beginning of the broadcast, I asked for you to share your favorite holiday memory. And Edwin
Sorry.
said his favorite holiday memory is my Aunt Tiny making me my own peach cobbler. Now, Edwin, I would really be curious to know what is your Aunt Tiny's peach cobbler recipe? Because I tell
Ooh.
you, I love peach cobbler, but that is something I have not even attempted to make yet. So I can't wait to get a good peach cobbler recipe and to get in the kitchen and start playing around.
Oh my goodness, Angela, that sounds wonderful. That too is my favorite dessert. So please share it with me as well.
I will. Look, once I perfect it, baking is not necessarily something I am drawn to. I have one dessert that I make and that I make well. I'm a good cook, but I have one dessert that I do well. So I am open to working on more of my desserts to add more to the 3 to the 4 course meal that, I like to prepare from time to time.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Make it happen. Yes. Yes. I apologize. My power was about to go out.
You know what? That is okay. Right before you plugged in your device, we were talking about your passion for the arts.
Oh yes. Love the arts. Been able to do some incredible things, Angela, with the arts because film and television, right? That is your wheelhouse. Being able to promote incredible African American actresses and actors in this role in the arts of Delta Sigma Theta, really being able to highlight those positive films that elevate our people to that level of which they should be. And absolutely love it. All things music. We had an extraordinary music ministry that just soothes our soul. There is nothing like music. You know, there are places when you hear a song that take you years back. You knew exactly where you were, what was going on, and it takes you to that moment in great memories. And we were able to do such great work with our authors because we've got to the individual that can actually tell the story has the power, right? So be able to write those stories, and those stories, those books will outlast all of us. All of us have great stories to share. And it really helps us from generation to generation to generation. So, really encouraging that incredible literary arts is so what I love. So, what I love. We were able to put some incredible visual arts in the Hartsfield Jackson Airport for a convention. It was just a really great, fun ride. Love the arts.
Now, you were just talking about music and song taking you back. For
Yeah.
some reason this week, I've been on my Fred Hammond. I don't know what it is, but I've been on my Fred Hammond. I've been blessed in the city. I've been blessed
The
in the city.
blessing.
I've been looking for my blessing. Are you ready for your
Yes.
miracle? I'm in
Yes.
the old Fred Hammond when he was with Radical for Christ. So that's where I've been with music. But it is interesting how music just takes you back. You
It
know, when you're like,
does.
takes you back. I'm like, sometimes it take you where you're like, oh, I don't want to go back there. Because I remember that song and I remember what I was doing when that song was out, or, I was young or I was broke. I remember I was riding in this car that I was
That's
driving
right.
and it didn't have the AC or whatever. But music just seems to have that
It
power. It is definitely incredible.
It does. And with the music, I love, love, love to dance. And I can just feel the rhythm in my feet and my legs and my arms. And I got to get up and I have to go do it. And it's so good for the heart and the spirit. Music just does so, so much. And just the incorporation of dance and oh, love the arts. It is just awesome and great place. I love going to incredible place. I live here in Marietta and be able to go up to the Marietta Square and catch some incredible plays. And even at Porter Sanford over in Decatur on Rainbow, they have some great ones that are happening. So when the pandemic happened, as you know, one of the hardest hit industries was entertainment. And yeah, I'm sure you had to live that by being in that field, just having the playhouses shut down and no one sitting in the seats, and those incredible artists not having anyone to perform for, and having have to be separated from it. And even as they've come back, really putting in all of the precautions so that the performers are kept safe. It's just been really, really rough for our entertainers.
It has been. It has definitely been challenging.
Yeah.
Edwin has another question for you. Christmas is 2 days away.
Okay.
What does Christmas mean to you, and what is your hope for the new year in 2022?
You know, Edwin, Jesus is the reason for the season. No doubt. Um, my tree is right here, and I make sure that is known. I am here because of that. We are here at this season to celebrate his birth. We are celebrating the birth of our Savior. We are celebrating that He has come to give us eternal life. We are celebrating that He came and He died and He was resurrected for us. And we were bought with a price. Now, that gift, this whole thing, we receive the gift of Him. Our Father gave His only begotten Son for us. That is for me what this whole season is about. I, of course, plan to spend it with family and reminding my family the real reason is. So as we exchange gifts, I have the opportunity to share with them the greatest gift of all, and the gift that being the gift of Jesus. So I like to keep it simple. One of the greatest Christmases I've ever had was my family. We pulled each other's names and we just wrote a letter. Didn't spend any money. We wrote letters to the individual that we pulled and just share our incredible love for that individual. And that was just the absolute best Christmas ever. And we just had a great time rejoicing in the birth of Jesus Christ.
Do you still have that letter?
I absolutely do. I can run and get it. I do. I
How
sure
long
do.
ago was that?
It was actually in 2007.
Oh,
And
wow.
my letter was written by my dad. My dad wrote my letter. So I
Okay.
was just so, and I know it because he had handwritten. So I framed the handwritten letter. And then I actually took the letter, typed it up, and I put it on a background with a gentleman. And a little girl was on his shoulder. So he had these nice, strong shoulders, and a little girl was on his shoulder. And I had this script, his letter running through that pictorial. So yes, I do remember also well, and I definitely have my letter.
That is definitely a dying art, letter writing,
Yeah.
with I'm so grateful for technology to be able to text and to be able to email, to be able to instant message and DM and all of that. But, writing, like, even if they're typewritten, but writing letters,
Hmm.
I actually have an email. And granted, this is back to technology, but it was a letter. My niece, when she was about 6, 7, maybe,
Uh-huh.
sent me an email, and because it was a letter, she put her return address, like, she addressed it like a letter in the email. The spacing was jacked up. It was one run-on sentence, but I promise you, I still have it. I'm thankful
Oh.
that I printed it out because I'm sure I don't have that email address anymore, but I printed it out and I found it, not long ago, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is just amazing to go back and look." She was telling me what she was doing in school, where she was, doing, but it was one sentence. It was one sentence. The whole thing was one
She got
sentence.
it all out for her auntie.
Yeah, but to be able to have that and look back on it, and
Yes.
I have a couple, not too many. I kept a few. Those letters that you had to unfold and because they were folded, like, I have a few, just a couple from middle school. I didn't keep them all
Oh.
for obvious reasons,
Oh.
but there were maybe 2 or 3 that I kept, and so every, 5, 6, 7 years, I might pull them out, and oh my goodness, I'm like, "What was I thinking? I thought he was here?" So, yeah.
Wow. Wow, Angela. Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
love those moments. You know what? It's the small things, that matters. It's
Mhm.
those little things that really make the biggest difference. It just reminds me of, the things that are really, really most crucial, those things that you cannot see. You know, it's all of those things that you do for another individual, and you do it in secret that
Mhm.
somebody cannot see, because at all times we're storing up our rewards in heaven. And as we store up our rewards in heaven, it is all about the souls. It is about the soul of God's people and the difference that you're making in their lives and what you can do to put a smile on their face. And when you put a smile on God's people's face, you put a smile on his face too. So those are the things that really, really count. It is picking up the phone and calling someone when you know that they are in need. They need to hear a good word, right? There's so much power on the tongue, and we want to use that tongue to uplift mankind, uplift womankind, and then use our time and our resources to make a difference in their lives. When you identify if there's a need, perhaps your neighbor may have it too. So be able to
Mhm.
take that which has been given unto you and share it with another. That is what is really, really crucial. That's what makes this world so great. That is why it is so imperative that we have platforms like this so we can get out the good news and we can share different ways that we can actually be a help to one another. God is our comforter, right? But we can be a comforter to one another. He has put us to here to be blessings to one another. We get blessings through each other from him, but we are the blessing that we talk about. We are the blessings that we're looking for, the blessing of one another. Because I promise you, if there's an individual, I saw a billboard once that said, 1 out of 5 people are hungry, but 4 out of 5 can help. One more
Oh.
time. 1 out of 5 are hungry, but 4 out of 5 can help. Right?
Mm.
So we need to be that blessing. There's so many of us have been just so incredibly fortunate. We've been given many, many fortunes, many, many opportunities. Why can't we just take some of that fortune and share it with someone else so that they can also be good and great? So a lot of work to be done, but if we spread that good news and we lead by example and we keep doing right, we're hoping all others will come aboard. So earlier we talked about the Stewart Foundation, so I certainly have to give major shout outs to Hank Stewart. Hank Stewart and I started the foundation with Allison Hornbuck. I hope she's on as well, 16 years ago. And what has been a big, big blessing for us is those individuals, our volunteers that have come with us along the way. Dr. Donna McBride, who is an exceptional educator, Margie Preston, who is just technologically astute and just so grand, Quilla Thomas, and the Williams and the Phillips and the Evans, and just so many of our beautiful, beautiful volunteers that their hearts are in the right place. All they want to do is to serve and make a difference in a child's life, so that all of our futures will be bright and it would be better. Our chief financial officer, Cree and Mo and Misa, all of them. There's so many great people that are out here that want to do the right thing and help another out. I'm so grateful for them, and especially during a time like this and during a season like this, just letting them know how grateful we are for all of the work that they do. No matter what we need, we call on them and they are right there. And for that, I just can't take that for granted. Just very, very grateful for the presence of the Stewart Foundation. They've been more than grand.
Edward said, "What church is your guest pastor? She bringing the word tonight. She is a minister. She is a minister."
Oh, Edwin, I am a minister. I am Minister Gwen Mason, and I do worship at Solid Rock Ministries. My father is the pastor of Solid Rock, and at the time of the pandemic, we were about to do a transfer of power, and that would have been me. And since then, we've had some difficulties because we were trying to reconstruct the church and want to redo windows. It was a historic community. Now we've been shut down because we went in trying to change windows. So we've got some work to do, but we're standing strong and courageously, and we're forging ahead and letting the word reign in our heart at all times. So thank you for recognizing that. I love the work of building God's kingdom.
So as we wrap up, I didn't know if there was an excerpt either you wanted to share from your book or a final word before we wrap up.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know what? There are just so many things about my book that I absolutely, love because it's so endearing to me. And as you go through, what I attempt to address is an individual's character, their spirituality, family, marriage, relationships, service to others, education, health. And I have to say, and I don't, mental health is a big, big deal. It really, really is. I really need for our people to understand that it is okay to go out and to make a difference in your soul. See, we have this physical body. We have a temple. God has given us one temple. That's all we get. Just one temple. We are a spirit, right? Our spirit will last forever. And we have a body, right? We live in a body and we have a soul. Your soul is your feeler and your thinker. So with that soul, so it's good with the body. If we break an arm, right, we can go to the doctor, we put a cast on it. Or if we, like me, had breast cancer and I ended up with a double mastectomy, people respect the physical ailments that we go through, right? But for the soul, that feeler and that thinker, that's the emotional, right? It is when we endure mental and emotional illnesses, for some reason we don't get that is a part of this total being, and that it needs care. It needs care. When you hear of people, people often make jokes about individuals who have bipolar, and that's so ugly, so ugly. And when people are suffering from anxiety or depression or schizophrenia, there's such a huge disrespect for our mental and our emotional state. And people are losing their lives because they don't know what to do. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know how to get help because they are embarrassed by something that is so natural. It is part of their being. It is their soul. It's their mental and emotional state. And I really need for us as a people not to be ashamed to go and get help. There are some great therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists that are out there that are trained to help us through this temporary state. And two, there's medication that can help you get over the hurdle. And I just want to leave that with our audience this evening, Angela, because I want us to stop it. Please stop it. Have the courage to stand up for your soul and get the necessary help, and don't be embarrassed by it. And if those around you are ashamed of you, you need to walk away from them anyway. Go get the necessary help because we need you here. Do not result to suicide. Don't go and take yourself out because of something that's a temporary state that you can get help for. You can get into a hospital, get into a facility, get under the necessary care so that you can move on. And if you can get past this moment, you know that there is absolutely something great out there for you. But you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to be on the court. You've got to go and get the necessary care. You can't, and there is nothing wrong with it. Don't let anybody have you feeling bad about where you are. It is about the journey. It is about your perception of it. Get help, and get help now so that you can go on and become the most remarkable you that God has put you here to be.
I want to make sure people really heard what they heard from you, because you have spoke passionately as a minister and said, yet if you need help, go get therapy, because you can have Jesus and have a therapist, and sometimes people don't get that.
Absolutely.
They
Oh my
don't get that.
goodness. No, they don't get
So
that. You can absolutely. There's your supernatural, right? God is your supernatural help. But then there are things that you have to do in the natural. If you can't have faith without work, right? If you believe, then you go out and you do the work. If you there's never ever a time when even with the situation with COVID, right? Some you're getting COVID, you're still going to get the necessary medication to get you through. Or if you have breast cancer, and I took tamoxifen forever, that doesn't, because I went to the doctor to care for my breast, right, and get this cancer out of my body, didn't mean that I didn't believe in God. I believe in God first. Then God gave me the wisdom to go and see these doctors that He's already giving a solve for my problem. It's the same thing. You believe in God. Faith without works is dead. Go to work. Get on the necessary couches. Get the necessary medication to help you get through these hurdles with some of this mental and emotional illnesses that we've experienced. Please don't stop. Please don't give up. Please don't go out and do something to yourself, because there's a plan. There is a purpose for your life. But if you can just hold on and then go and do the necessary things to get through it, I promise you, there's nothing wrong with you. All of us have our respective vices. All of us have our issues that we have to deal with. None of us can go and choose our cross, right? But we all are going to go through it because God tells us that He didn't put us here for comfort. He put us here to build our character. And a lot of times your character is built through the adversities that you experience. You don't get to choose the adversities, but it is how you go through those adversities. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you can just hold on and stay up and keep marching on and keep fighting, being like David in the lion's den, keep your eye on Him, I promise you'll get through it. But you got to do the things in the natural to get you cared for. It is okay. I promise you it is okay. We can get through it together.
and on that note, with Edwin saying Gwen Mason for POTUS 2024, I don't know if you Gwen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy
My
schedule. We're just a
pleasure.
couple days away from the holidays, so I know it's a busy time. I do appreciate you taking the time
Oh,
to come on to share a good word with us on tonight. And Gwen's website is at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you check it out and check out her new book. Gwen,
thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for being on tonight.
Yay.
Courage to transform.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you, my darling. Thank you,
All right.
studio audience. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you. Well, that is it for tonight's Angela Ray Show. As always, I would like to remind you all of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great weekend.